Hello, this is Mark Sabatella. In this video, I want to talk about the subject of substitution. In particular, we're talking about substituting chords, and very often this is presented as this chord is substituting for this chord, one chord substituting for another. And, well, sometimes that is a thing, and I'm not going to say that is never a thing, but that is not what I'm going to talk about here. What I'm talking about here is the idea that a lot of the interesting things that happen in harmony come when we look at a slightly bigger picture, when we look at entire phrases and all the chords that are there. And so, as an analogy, well, let me just play this little phrase of music. This is from In the Bleak Midwinter, which I talked about in a video recently. So this is like the bridge. That's more or less the original harmonization. And I'm looking at this phrase here, that final two measures of that phrase, as something maybe I want to reharmonize. And the analogy that I want to give here is, instead of looking at it one chord at a time and what can I do instead of this chord, I want to look at it in terms of, well, where is the goal? Where am I trying to get to? Where I'm trying to get to is back to my home. I want to get back to the tonic chord. And so really what I'm looking for is different routes home. And so the analogy I sometimes make has to do with like routing, like if you're trying to get somewhere. Like right now I'm in my studio, and if I'm trying to get to my house, I can think of 3 different routes I could take. One of them takes me by a garden center, and one of them takes me by a Mexican restaurant, and one of them takes me by the post office. Well, that's great, but I couldn't go to the Mexican restaurant and try to mail a package, right? And I can't go to the garden center and order me some chile rellenos, right? That's not going to happen. It's not going to work. It's not about the Mexican restaurant substituting for the post office. It's about them being different stopping points on the way home. And so, for instance, if I then take this phrase here and reharmonize it the way I have now, I can now look at this and say, well, this G sharp diminished here, it's not substituting for the G minor that was originally there, not in this, it's not like they're not doing the same thing. They're just different stopping points on my way home, the way the Mexican restaurant and the post office might be. Or here's another version. Again, it's just a different route back home. So this D minor 7 doesn't substitute for the G minor 7 in any really meaningful sense. I can't ask D minor 7 to do what G minor 7 does, but I can say that these are different routes to get me back home to my tonic chord. And most of the interesting things that go on in harmony come about when we start looking at overall phrases in this way and talk about where are they going and looking for alternative routes to get there.